really is an epidemic, just devastating thousands of people's lives and leading to record numbers of overdose deaths.
It's out there in all ways, shapes, and forms, in every age group. You know, we're seeing grown adults going through this. They're seeing their parents, you know, and grandparents and other various community members going through this, so we're all going through this together.
I got tired of doing the same thing over and over again, going and getting clean for a couple of months, and then going right back to jail because I couldn't stop using.
DEA's recognized that, you know, I wish I had $1 for every time I heard we can't arrest ourselves out of this problem, and we can't.
You have just finished watching the stories of lives forever changed by addiction, a disease from which no one is immune. A raw look at the impact of opioids on our region as the nationwide epidemic moves rapidly into our neighborhoods. Now, right here on Facebook, we're digging deeper into the state of addiction and highlighting the path to a state of recovery. It exists. We're bringing you bonus footage you didn't see on television and answering your questions about addiction, education, medication, and the path to a new life. Joining us live in studio, our panel of experts, including Dr. Neil Capretto, Medical Director of Gateway Rehabilitation, FBI Community Outreach Specialist Kelly Wesolowski, and Agent Brian Dempsey of the DEA. And moments away, Sheldon Ingram will speak one-on-one with Kendra DeLacio, who navigated the path from addiction to recovery and is now 4 years clean. Kendra, as well as our experts, will focus on a range of topics over the next hour. Shannon Perrine is standing by to take your questions. All you have to do is post them right here on Facebook. But first, a question you can ask yourself. Could you be enabling an addict?
I was living at home and I was using at home. I was using wherever, but at home too.
Where?
In my room, in the bathroom, anywhere really. In the car, in the garage.
How long did it take them before they found out?
I would say maybe I was 19 when they started realizing something was going on.
How did they express it to you?
My dad called me one day. I called him to ask him for money, and he said to me, "If you have a problem, tell me. I want to help you." And then I told him. At that point. And at that point, he still wasn't educated on it, so he tried his best to help me, but it wasn't enough. I continued to use.
How many times you guys have heard these stories? But first, before we begin to talk about enabling, you just looked at some new numbers, Kelly.
I did.
In Allegheny County, right?
Right. Well, actually, in all the district of Western Pennsylvania, southwestern Pennsylvania, we're over 1,000 overdose deaths for the year of 2016, and those are just preliminary numbers. So that highly surpasses the 800 or so from 2015. PA just came out. Fentanyl has far surpassed heroin as the leading cause of overdose deaths here in the area. So.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you must want to tear your hair out.
Oh yeah, and probably the majority of patients I've talked to in the last couple months have encountered fentanyl. Sometimes they think they're buying heroin, and experienced users who may are using 20 bags a day say that they've gone unconscious with one bag before the needle got out of their arm.
All of you on Facebook, thank you so much again for telling us your questions here, asking those questions. This is your chance here to really get these answered. This is a tough question, and it comes from a woman named Carol, and I'm sure she's echoing what so many of our viewers are going through as they watch this special tonight. She says this: "My daughter died last August of a heroin overdose. 42 years old. She left 4 children behind. I took her to the methadone clinic hoping this was the answer. After 6 months, she started using again, which got to the level of heroin. It's been 7 months. She's feeling guilty that she could not do enough to help her." So Carol wants to know, and a lot of other parents want to know, is there anything else I could have done to save her daughter's life?
Who wants to try that one,
That's
guys?
a tough one.
It is, definitely. And it's actually almost universal in this state of addiction.
There's so many variables out of the parent's control. Ultimately, the person with addiction is ultimately responsible for their own journey of recovery. So the mother, I'm sure, did everything she could. Sometimes even with the best of families and the best of support, some people don't make it. again, I would encourage the mother, and again, I'm very sorry for your losses. We heard there was 1,000 losses in Western Pennsylvania last year, so there's probably many other families struggling with the same question. But people do the best they can, and in the end, as we say, you got to turn it over.
And going to support groups can help you with that guilt.
Such as we saw Beyond the Bridge to Hope. I mean, these were good people, good families. It's sometimes just so many variables out of people's control. And it may have been being in the wrong place at the wrong time that day that it happened.
Well, let me ask. This is a strange way to put it, but Narcan is there,
yes,
and parents know it, and schools know it. Well, you hope that parents know it. You can't say that Narcan enables addicts to continue, can you, or can you? I mean, I'm going to put that to Brian.
No, naloxone saves lives. So ultimately, that's your end goal, is to save a life. And going back to what Capretto said was, you can't force an addict into treatment. The addict has to want to go to treatment. So, that's something we push. We encourage law enforcement officials to always carry naloxone, for their safety and to revive people. And I've known people that have been revived with naloxone 4 or 5 times. It's on that 4th or 5th time that naloxone is administered. They wake up and say, well, you know what? Maybe I really do need to go to treatment, because if not, I would have been dead 3 or 4 administrations ago.
We were coming down the hill and we got pulled over by the Wilkinsburg police, and they pulled us out of the car. They asked where everything was. I told them where everything was. They got all of our paraphernalia, all of our drugs, and they gave my daughter a lollipop and pulled her out of the car and searched her car seat, everything.
I'm Sheldon Ingram, and thank you for staying with us for our State of Addiction as we presented to you. And joining me now is Kendra DeLassio. Kendra, thank you for being with us. You have such an incredible story, and if you missed any part of our 1-hour special, Kendra appeared several times, both expressing what it was like to live in that dark world of addiction, but also what it's like to be on the road to recovery. Now, she has been clean, as we say, for 4 years now. And today, Kendra is now studying for her master's degree in counseling addiction. And she's carrying a 4.0 grade point average. So congratulations. But before she got to this point, there was the dark side that we want you to share with us, including your steps to recovery. And please gear up your questions for Kendra, because she's here to answer some of those questions. And I should tell you right away that there is no magic bullet. There is no one-step process to making this happen. And Kendra is here to share some insight on her road to recovery. First of all, she has overdosed about 6 times, and you've been arrested about 6 times for possession of heroin and other drugs. How did this recovery for you begin, Kendra?
It wasn't my first time trying to get into recovery. I had tried numerous times. Like I shared earlier, I would go and get clean for a couple months and I'd start using again. I'd go and get clean for a couple months, start using again. The last time that I went to jail, actually, I had gotten clean 5 days beforehand. It was November 5th, 2012, and my probation officer arrested me because I couldn't give a clean urine screen. And they took me to jail, and I went in front of my judge, and he, through the whole process of him working with me, he had sent me to treatment center after halfway house after treatment center, and it just, nothing had worked. And I sat down in front of him, and he offered me a 2 to 5 year prison sentence or to go to a 45-day inpatient treatment.
As far as a 2 to 5 year prison sentence is concerned, had you ever been in jail for that period of time?
No.
So that was a shocker to you?
A little bit.
How did you react when he gave you that option?
I told him that I wanted to go to prison rather than go to treatment. Really? Yes.
Knowing that you would not get treatment in jail?
Right.
But you still opted eventually to get the treatment, is that correct?
I did. And something had happened to me whenever I was at that treatment center. One of the staff members had come to me, and she just kind of took me under her wing and mentored me and hit me with some information that I hadn't heard before.
What was that information?
The biggest thing that she said to me that really stuck with me was she asked me, when does hope run out? And I was kind of taken aback by that because I always thought that hope never ran out. And she told me hope runs out when it's replaced with faith. And that stuck with me for years.
At that particular point, how much time did you spend in that treatment center before you were released on your own?
I was there for, I think, 56 days.
Is that the longest amount of time you spent in any treatment facility?
Yes.
56 days. Once you got out, what happened next?
For the first time, I went straight to a meeting like they had told me to. The first night out, I went to the Tuesday night meeting, and I started looking around for women who were in recovery, who were working a program of recovery. I got their phone numbers and I started calling them and reaching out to them and trying to build a circle of strong women who could show me how to live without using.
Okay, so at some point, Dr. Capretto mentioned that it's incumbent upon the user to want to get help. Was there a sense of urgency inside of you to get better each day than you were the day before?
Absolutely, and it's the people that were around me that pushed me even through my weak points, the points where I didn't feel like I wanted to stay clean anymore. The struggles that I went through on a daily basis, I talked to them and I shared with them openly, honestly, how I was feeling, what I was going through, only to find out they've been through it too, and they helped guide me through it.
Okay, I think we have a question.
Yeah, Sheldon and Kendra, I'm hearing from some folks on Facebook right now, a lot of people giving you a ton of support right now. They're so glad that you're here, and they're giving you a lot of props and saying you're brave and inspiration right now. So a lot of people are being impacted by what you have to say. I've gotten this question several times here on Facebook tonight. What do you do for a person who you know is addicted, who is not yet ready to get treatment? How do you help that person? So many family members desperate for information on this.
I've gone through that with family members, friends. My family went through that with me. They tried to force me into treatment. It didn't work. They had to let me suffer some consequences. That was the only thing that really got through to me. Like, they let me sit in jail. They stopped saving me from myself. They let me feel that pain and those consequences.
And there's some folks on Facebook who also want to know what you say to your teenager to get them. You talked about, Kendra, using that first time being a decision and it being a disease after that. How do you get them to make the decision? Is there something any of you can contribute? What do you say to the young people who are watching this right now, who are in your life, to not make that decision to pick that drug up for the first time? That's a tough one.
I'm gonna ask you, Neil. What do you say? I mean, you see these people come through Gateway Rehabilitation for a long time.
I think the more kids get a consistent message about the real dangers of drug, not reefer madness stuff, your head's going to fall off or something, but it's important, and studies show the more young people believe a drug is harmful, the less likely they're going to use it as a group. That doesn't mean it's going to go down to zero, but rates definitely go down. Our young people get bombarded by what the media, just seeing beer commercials or things in movies about drugs being glamorized. So they've had thousands of pro-drug and alcohol messages. It's important that parents have regular talks with them and other adults in their life that this is not okay and not acceptable.
Kendra, let me ask you this. Let me make it more specific. What are you going to tell your daughter when she's old enough?
My daughter lived through a lot of my active addiction. She's lived through all of my recovery. My daughter's lost people to overdoses. She's seen the reality of what happens, but she's also aware of the fact that there's help out there. She goes to support meetings. She's my biggest cheerleader, and I hope that she's in bed right now to not hear this, but she's aware, and she spreads that awareness to her friends too. She's the biggest advocate that I've ever met.
I have one question here. Do you think it's more effective to receive help for addiction away from home, in treatment versus outpatient, inpatient versus outpatient?
One advantage of having it closer to home is it's a family disease. It's more convenient for families to be involved with it, and the resources, and there's some just frank realities that if a lot of insurances that's based in your state, it doesn't cover it out of state to get treatment unless you're independently wealthy.
We're going to wrap up now, but I want to give all of you a chance to say one final thing to our Facebook, I guess, viewers and
our Facebook friends.
What do we call them?
They're
Facebook friends, yes. Kendra, you first.
Recovery happens. There's help out there. Just access the help. Get the help that you need. Surround yourself with positive people. Like, you can do this. We can all do this together.
Brian?
Well, when you buy a stamp bag on the street, there's no quality control. You don't know what you're putting in your system. It could be heroin, it could be fentanyl, it just could be pure garbage. So you don't know what you're injecting into your body. So it's, my advice is just stay away from it completely.
Kelly.
Anyone suffering from addiction, anyone suffering in a family, you are definitely not alone. Brian and I have experienced that. We will come to any school, we will come to any community group, we will talk to anybody to try to get this information out to the people affected, because we really believe that education equals empowerment.
Yeah.
As long as there is life, there is hope. Do not give up. Continue to fight the fight. And if there's a secret to recovery, it's just sticking with it and doing it one step, one day at a time.
And Shannon, you have been looking at all of these questions. How would you sum up what seems to be the tenor of them?
I want to say that there are people who are watching on Facebook who are broken and who are mourning the loss. We heard from somebody who said, I wish I saw this 4 weeks ago. And we know that they're talking about a loss. There's been tremendous loss and tremendous pain, and I think those messages came through tonight for others who are in the grips of addiction right now, and I'm seeing some hope. I'm seeing some hope come through.
And that is what tonight is supposed to be about, and we hope that it gave you hope. We want to thank our panel of experts and Kendra DeLassio for joining us tonight to share their stories, their inspiring, educating stories, their experiences and knowledge. As we work together to get Pennsylvania on the road to recovery, I think we're already on that road, we hope. We also thank you for watching and for asking, because rehabilitation starts with education. If you missed any part of tonight's Chronicle, or if you'd like to share it with your family, don't miss our encore presentations Saturday night at 7 on This TV Pittsburgh, and on WTAE Channel 4 Saturday night at 10 and Sunday night at 9. Thank you very much.